Requesting all of you to come back to Zoom application. We will continue with the second part, which is introduction to RDBMS. Under DBMS, we have various models. One of the popular model and one of the real world model and softwares which we are using in real world is RDBMS. RDBMS is a DBMS in which relationships are maintained among different tables. There were various RDBMS softwares. So can you see the logos? MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, SQLite, Ingres, Postgres, DBase.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the softwares which we are using under RDBMS are there, and all the softwares falls under RDBMS model, and it's a category of DBMS. So relation, the word relation means table. You will be having a database. In a database, you have a table with unique name. One database will have many tables. How tables are created?
Create table.
Okay, I'll come to the syntax of table creation, but why I want to draw an ER diagram? Once the entity relationship diagram is ready for an application, I can convert entity relationship diagram to tables. Each entity will be converted to table. So if I have employee, department, project, salaried and daily waged, all will be converted to table. So entity will be converted to a table. Entity name will be the table name, which should be unique. All the attributes will become guys. All the attributes will become, so let's assume we have, yes, employee table. So entity will become a table and attributes will become column names. Employee code, employee name, employee address, department ID, salary, and project code. So entity will be converted to table, attributes will become columns, and rows will be my records. Let's assume I have some 200 employees in my organization. So all 200 employees, details. He belongs to 5 department, and he is assigned with not one project. So likewise, we will be having any number of records. So likewise, you will be having employee table, you will be having department table, and you will be having project table. Do I have any relation between department table and employee table?
Department ID?
Of course, yes. We are department. So department table will have department ID, department name, department head. So let's assume I have not one, not two, likewise not three. So let's say manager, department, HR, sales, account, IT, IT admin. Can I have a department ID other than these 9 department code? Let's assume in a company there were 9 departments. Can I have any department like 10th department or 12th department? Is it possible?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No, that is a relationship. So relationship is an employee can be added, employee detail can be added only with the help of existing department ID. So in a company, I have 9 department ID. My employee should be of any of this 9 department ID. Can I include anything 12, 11, 15? No, that is not possible. That is relationship. So I want to ensure correctness of data. So likewise project, the project which has been assigned, the project which has been taken by the company alone, the employee will be assigned. For example, there is no project called as 502. Can I able to assign 502 for my employee code?
Not possible.
That is a relationship. And that relationship will be exhibited with foreign key relationship. Those are all will be discussed by tomorrow only. I'll be discussing on tomorrow only. But whatever we discussed in the morning, so don't think that it's a diagrammatic form. No, whatever the diagram is in front of you, the diagram will be converted to a table. And relationship will be exhibited to foreign key references. And one thing I want to say, so you will be having entity will become a table, attributes will become a column, primary attribute will become a primary key, and relationship will be established with foreign key. So these foreign key, primary key, and all the table creation we will be discussing on tomorrow with MySQL syntax. Every topic is having a connection. All right. And by creating a table in the form and storing the data and retrieving in a proper structure via SQL is your RDBMS software. So row or nothing but record. Columns are attributes. Combination of columns and rows called as relation, which is nothing but a table. Out of my n number of attribute, one will be represent for unique representation, which is primary key. By using a primary key, I will be referencing that record. So there is some additional technical term. Please look into it. Point number 1, relation. Relation is nothing but a table. Attributes, columns. Records are called as tuple. Out of 4 attributes, one will be chosen as a primary attribute, prime attribute. By using that, I can represent a unique row, which is called as primary key. Take time, analyze the same.
Ma'am, I have a confusion regarding this attribute and tuple.
You have a confusion bit?
With attributes and tuple, ma'am, the attributes are the names of the keys, right? Like the T code name and when those blocks contain data, they are called tuple. Is it that?
Tuple. So if you take this example, employee ID, employee name, employee address, department, salary, P code, or attributes,
Yes.
or columns. And
Tuple is like an object, na?
Huh?
It can be said like it's an kind of object of an attribute or this class. Kind of.
Kind of. So if I have some 9 records, these 9 records are called as tuple. I have 9 tuple.
That means one tuple contains all the attributes, the entire row. Each tuple is the
Correct.
entire row.
Correct. Row is called as tuple, column is called as attribute.
Okay.
We are going to create a table in our SQL, MySQL software using SQL language. And more theory about RDBMS, let us discuss. So the first rule, I said so many rules, protocols are there with DBMS and RDBMS. The basic rule with respective to data, the data storage is normalization. So normalization helps in reducing the data redundancy and inconsistency of data. So whenever if you are handling a table, a data, so there may be a chances where you will have repetition of data. In database, you should not accept certain called as repetition, data redundancy of data, repetition of data, because repetition of data will leads to a lot of confusion. One thing is memory wastage. And when it comes to deletion or updation, extra care needs to be taken. So redundancy, always duplicate data needs to be deleted, and inconsistency of data. Those are all removed with the help of concept called as normalization. Database normalization is a process of organizing the field and the table of relational database to minimize dependency and redundancy. Normalization involves dividing the larger table into smaller table based on the rules which we want to exhibit and defining the relations between them. I'll repeat again, in order to maintain the proper consistency of data I'm going to handle in a table, we will apply certain rule. One of the important rule to apply for my database table is normalization. Normalization, what is meant by normalization? According to the rule, a table will be divided into n number of subtables. Let us discuss. After discussing, I'll come back to the same slide. So there were so many normal forms. A relation table is often described as normalized if it is in third normal form. So there were three normal forms: first normal, second normal, and third normal. By applying all the rule of first, second, third only, my table will be in the form of normalized structure. To understand the normal form, let us consider a denormalized, and then we will apply each and every normal form one by one, and let us discuss in detail. Guys, listen. Imagine like there is a table, and the table consists of project code, project name, project manager, employee name, employee, a number, department number, and department name. What is the first problem you are facing in this table?
Entry point, primary key.
Apart from that, I can able to locate a primary key. What else?
Repetition.
Everywhere there is a
Repetition of the
repetition. See here, my one project is repeated thrice. Employee name.
Project code.
Department is repeated thrice. Both everywhere. Department number and department name is repeated twice. Many places. Repetition. And there is no, I cannot able to identify and locate. Entry point is also there. I don't want to comment on entry point. Employee number is a primary key. So let's assume there is an employee table. I can refer primary key as employee number, but the problem is other data are getting repeated. To overcome it, I have to apply this normalization, normal forms. So the first normal form, The database is set to be in first normal form if it contains no repetitive fields and columns. So what I want to do, instead of having, listen carefully, instead of having project code, project name, project manager, department number and department name, I have to split the table into 3 tables. So this is one big table. This one table I'm going to divide into 3 tables. The first table consists of only project code, project name and project manager. So there were only 3 projects. So 3 column is enough. See, the employee table is divided into 2 tables, project table and employee table. And project table consists of project code, project name and project manager. So 9 records has been 9 duplicate records. See here, every time the data is repeated thrice. Instead, I can put only once in my project table. Instead of referring project code, project name, project manager, you can refer project code alone in your employee table. Will it be fine?
Yes, ma'am.
The first normal form is said to be achieved when there is no repetitive field or column. If you have any repetitive data in your table, split the table and put the record accordingly. So instead of having project code, project manager and project name, 3 different things. So you can put these 3 columns in a separate table. And in your employee table, just refer project code alone. If I want to know Bob's project name, I can reference my project table. I'll show you. So this is a table. Guys, please pay attention. This is a table with some 7 columns. We have divided into 2 tables. One table consists of only project. The other table consists of employee number, employee name, department number and name, where I am referring each employee only with project code. Shall I continue? You may find a new term called as composite key. I don't know why they have. Okay, you answer me, guys. So this table is divided into 2 tables. One table is holding only project details. The other table is holding employee details. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
can
ma'am.
ask me a question. Even this can be also reduced. Yeah, possible. You can create a department table with department name and number, and your employee can have only department number. That is also fine. So dividing one table into 2 or 3 table is called as normalization. Sorry. And there were so many keys attribute. The first key is called as primary key. So primary key represents unique representation of a row. It should be unique and it should not be null. And I will not discuss foreign key now. So foreign key we will discuss on tomorrow. And we have something called as candidate key, alternate key, composite key. Please pay attention. It seems like new term and confusing term, but these are all simple. Foreign key alone we will discuss on tomorrow. So let's assume there is a student table. Student table consists of student ID, name, mobile number, email ID, and address. So tell me, which are all the column is eligible to become a columns in a table eligible to become a primary key is called as candidate key. So tell me, out of 5 columns, which are all the column is eligible to become a primary key? Primary key should be unique.
Student ID.
There should not be repetition and it should not hold null value. Tell me.
Student ID.
ID
Student ID and email ID.
So if you take student table, student ID, email ID,
mobile.
even mobile number. Nowadays, if you take your mobile application, Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, which one is playing a unique role? Can I have Swiggy in 2 applications, 2 different mobiles? I can register with same mobile number?
No.
No. Mobile number is also going to play a role of primary key. It should not be empty and it should not hold repetitive value. Guys, listen. The column or attribute which is eligible to become a primary key called as candidate key. It should not be null. It should not hold repetitive value. Out of that, I will choose one as a primary key. The remaining all are. So other than primary key, so remaining keys in candidate will become alternate key. In this example, I can say email ID and mobile number are called as alternate key. That's all, I'm done. So out of 5 attribute, 3 are eligible to become primary. So whichever the columns are eligible to become a primary is called as candidate key. Out of which I will choose one as a primary and the remaining 2 falls under the category alternate key. Is that clear?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
take this example. So I have 5 columns. 3 are eligible to become primary. So those 3 are candidates. Candidate. Out of which one will become primary, remaining 2 will become alternate. So 2 or more columns used to represent record in a table. Those 2 or 3 columns together called composite key. See, we have some rules for primary key. The rule is it should not hold null value, empty value, and it should not have repetition. And one another rule is it should represent a row or a record. What do you mean by representation of a row or a record?
Tuple.
You take my table.
Tuple.
What do you mean by representing a row?
I'm tuple.
Tuple.
Same type of values.
I'm asking a theory. What do you mean by the term representing a row?
Attributes.
It is
Could
used to
have
identify
been-
the row.
Correct. I don't know. I think Shubham Alarm I received. It is used to identify a row. So if I want to retrieve Kasinath record, can I retrieve with Bangalore? Can I retrieve with 87,000? Can I retrieve with D009? No. If I want to represent all the details, if I want to represent entire record or a tuple or a row with the help of primary key by using 10,002, can I able to retrieve all the records? Possible or not?
Yes.
So by using primary key alone, I can represent the entire row. This is also one eligibility to become a primary key. Yeah, if you take this table, my primary key, department code, employee is eligible to become a primary key. So whereas, let's assume there is a project table. So project table consists of project code and employee code and number of hours and cost of project. Listen carefully. So project 2 handled by employee 5. He took 72 hours and it cost $900. And project 4 handled by 1006. He took 120 hours and it cost $8. So if you take this table, can I use project code? Project code 2, 72 hours and it cost $900. Take time and just try to represent a record. By using this project code, can I represent employee code? Can I represent number of hours with cost? It will not be fulfilled. I should say like project 4 by employee 10,006. He took 120 hours and the cost is $800. I cannot represent number of hours by using only project code. If the same project would be handled by any other employee, the number of hours might get differs. In such situation, I cannot use project code alone as a primary key, employee code alone as a primary key. So my project code as well as employee code, both are eligibility to become a primary key. I know we were into detailed theory on DBMS, but guys, as I said, this is the only theory and the core concept of your DBMS. So in order to represent any non-key attribute, you take number of hours. You take my example, number of hours. In order to represent number of hours, project code alone, it's not enough. Can I say project 2 completed in 72 hours? Project 4 completed in 120 hours? Can I say like 1005 employee, 10,005 employee took 72 hours? No. How can we say? So this particular employee, 10,005 employee, he took second project to complete in 72 hours. So I can able to represent number of hours only by combining these two columns. In a database table, one column is not sufficient to represent another columns as a primary key. I have to use two columns. In such situation, these two columns are called as composite key. Both are primary key of a table. We will not say two primary key. Instead, we will say one composite key, which is combination of product code and employee code. Two or more columns used to represent a record in a table. Those two columns are called as composite key. If I take here 10,002 employee is holding 87,000 salary. 10,002 employee belongs to 502 project code. 10,002 employee belongs to Bangalore. And 10,002 employee name is Kasinath. Can I say like this? Primary
Yes,
key is used to represent all other non-key attributes. That is a rule of primary key. Can I have 10,006 again?
No, ma'am.
No, this is also not possible and this is also not possible. So these three are rule of primary key. So whereas there will be a situation where I cannot able to represent two column by using one key, one column. So I should use combination of two columns. In such situation, those two are called as composite key.
Ma'am,
Hmm.
what if different employee work on the same project?
Possible. I can use two columns to represent a record in a table. In such situation, those two column falls under composite key. So that is what they are trying to say. First normal form should be atomic in nature. There should not be repetition of record. So always each cell should have unique data and only one data. That is a rule of first normal form, atomic nature. After that, I will apply the rule second normal form. Guys, it seems like confusing, but it's a simple term and a real world application term. Please relate. So we have something called as normal forms. So why we are going for normalization? So to avoid redundancy and to have a consistent DB. And what is normalization? Splitting one table into many table according to the requirement. Listen carefully, we have various normal forms. Let's take first normal form. According to first normal form, it should be in atomic nature. That is, each cell should have at least one value. There should not be a repetition of values. In such situation, split it. And the next rule is second normal form. So according to second normal form, it should be in first normal form. And all, listen carefully, all non-key attributes are functionally dependent on primary key. That is, no partial dependency. So all my columns should be directly dependent on primary key. You take my table. Name is dependent on employee code. I am asking you guys, this name belongs to this employee code.
Yes, ma'am.
The address belongs to employee code. So if you take, I have one primary key and I have 5 non-key. So all the 5 non-key should be directly dependent on primary key. There should not be even partial dependency. Let us take the example. So the one single table is already divided into 2 tables. Further to that, I am dividing into third table, holding project code and employee code alone. So I'm having project code, I'm having employee number, I'm having employee name, department number, and department name. So someone asked the question a minute back, few minutes back. One employee will be working on many projects, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if you take 2 employee or 3 employee will be working on one project, you can see duplicate.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, these 3 employee are working on project. So whenever if you are constructing a table, table should not have these types of duplicate table. which is indirect dependency. In such situation, further to this table will be divided into another table. Holding, listen carefully. Already we divided project code, project name, project manager as a project table. Apart from that, employee details will be there in employee ID and employee name. Further to that, we are creating a project and employee name as a separate table. Holding, so employee number and project code. So in a table, so these three employees, whichever the table is having partial dependency. So in such situation, you will be dividing and you will be placing in a different table, which is second normal form. Guys, for better understanding, let me put another table. Come along with me. So let me put a student table. So student table consists of student ID, student name, student email ID, student mobile number, faculty code, faculty name, street name, city name, pin code. Assume like there is a table. So out of that, I'll be choosing student ID as a primary key. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Remaining
Yes,
all
ma'am.
are called as, technically, we will come with the term called as non-key attributes. These are all not a primary key of my table. So it is called as non-key attribute. So the rule is all the non-key attributes should be. So the rule is all non-key attribute should be functionally dependent on primary key, which is second normal form. I can say no partial dependency. I'll introduce the one more topic, which is third normal form. All non-key attributes should directly dependent on primary key. There should not be transitive dependency. I'll tell you what. Listen. So you take name, email ID, mobile number, faculty code, faculty name, street name, city, zip code. So name is directly dependent on student ID. Email ID, mobile number, everything is directly dependent on student ID. You take faculty code. Faculty code is also directly dependent on student ID. What about faculty name? Faculty name is not directly dependent. It is not functionally dependent. It is indirectly dependent via faculty code. I'll be having some other table called as employee table or faculty table. From there, I'll be retrieving faculty code and faculty name. So what I can say is faculty name is functionally not dependent on primary key. It is partially dependent via my faculty code. In such situation, I should not have faculty name in my student table. So faculty code and faculty name should be placed in a separate table, which is called a second normal form. So I'll be having only faculty code. I will not have faculty name, which is removal of faculty code and faculty name in my student table is called as second normal form. Shall I continue with this directly dependent? One last example with this. You take city name, street name, and pin code. This pin code is dependent on primary key.
Depend on
Yes.
city name.
So if I enter pin code, if I change any city name, automatically which one will be changed?
Pin code.
Pin code will be changed. So pin code is not directly dependent on student ID. Pin code is dependent on city name. Every city in India will have a unique pin code. It is for city or district?
City name.
State district.
City. Yeah. So if the student changed city name, automatically pin code will change. In such situation, this pin code is having transitive dependency. So that transitive dependency I want to remove. So what I will do is I will be removing, and I'll be having a separate table called as street name, city name, and pin code. So by splitting, one second, analyze, one second. So whichever the column which is having partial dependency, remove it. Transitive dependency, that is indirect dependency also, please remove from a table. Such kind of rule is called as second normal form and third normal form. Database is said to be in third normal form. It should satisfy first and second. You can consider third. None of the field in table are transitive, functionally dependent on primary key. In such situation, you will be removing those dependency and put it in a separate table. See here, make the separate table for transitive dependent field. So earlier we started this normal form with how many tables?
7. 7 tables.
Not 7.
One
7 columns.
table,
One
one
table
table.
with 7 columns. By applying this normal form one by one, can you see the output? After the third normal form, one table is divided into 4 tables. Do we have any duplicate? Of course, there is a duplicate in only one table. Other than that, if you look into project table, employee table, and department table, there is no duplicate at all. Only thing is employees, many to many. So one employee, one project will be assigned for many employees. In such case, no other go. But whereas duplicate records of employee, department, project, everything has been removed. One table is divided into 4 tables. And all the 4 tables should be there in your database. All these rules keep in mind, and when you are creating a table, you should think and you should create in such a way. And there will be a relationship. Please look into this. Department number and department name. Department number is having a foreign key relation. An employee number, foreign key. Project code, foreign key. Foreign key alone, I'm not discussing today. I know a lot of theory, so I don't want to overload. Foreign key is one important, equivalent to primary key. Foreign key is also important in table. but I'll be discussing on tomorrow. So one table primary will be the foreign key. So only if foreign key exists, I should have that record. Can I enroll for an employee whose department is not exist at all in an organization? No, I cannot.
No, ma'am.
Let's assume in a company, there is only database testing, IT, database, that's all. Database testing, IT department alone. Even I can remove these two records. Can I take an employee? Can I recruit an employee and I can store an employee in anything called as IT admin or HR?
ma'am.
No, not possible, because department number of employee table is having foreign key relation with department table. So that foreign key alone we will discuss tomorrow. But for your understanding, I can say if department number is not there, I cannot have it in my employee. Same rule is applicable for college. Let's assume there is a college with 5 departments. Can I take registration for the student with other than 5 departments? Practically, it's not possible. If you are enrolling with NIT, NIT can take the course for only with the existing course code. Let's assume there were 10 course code. Only within the 10, you can able to register a course in NIT. I cannot go for 11th course. So primary key and foreign key, both are equally important in table creation. So again, I'm sharing the reference material to only read the theory content of first, second normal and know about it. Chances are there you may get in an interview. So from beginning, when you are in front-end application development, we were using C language, C++ language. Now we are with Java language. When you are in backend, we have so many softwares in backend. So RDBMS packages. So these are the various, I can show you in an. One second. I just want in diagrammatic logo form. 1 second. So RDBMS is having name alone RDBMS. We have so many softwares in RDBMS. Can you see? We have Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle, IBM's DB2, SQLite, Microsoft Access, SQL Anywhere, so many. What is this? The logo which is in front of you, and this are application softwares which comes under RDBMS. Whatever the rule I discussed from 9 o'clock till this third normal form is applicable for all the softwares. Am I making it sense, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you want to work with this software, I need a language. If I want to work with DB2, if I want to work with Oracle, if I want to work with SQLite, MySQL, don't confuse with the name. SQLite is a software, MySQL is a separate software. SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server is a separate software of Microsoft. If I want to work with any of the softwares which is in front of you, we need a language called as structured query language, which is SQL queries. Don't confuse with SQL and this SQL. These are all softwares, software name. And to work with all the software, we need a language called as structured query language. It is a special purpose programming language designed to manage everything in RDBMS, and it's a 4th generation language. Got it?
What is this 4th generation?
Find it out. From 1st generation to 5th, 6th, we have generations. Find it out. Every generation we have features. So the SQL which we are using comes under ANSI, American National Standard Institute. It's a private non-profitable organization. It is development for various products, services, systems in US. SQL was adapted as a standard by ANSI in 1986 and as SQL 86 version by ISO in 1987. It's acceptable language. Without a central standard entity, every database manufacturer will be free to use whatever the syntax they find appropriate. Whomsoever manufacturer, they can use SQL because it's accepted by ANSI. Even though there are some variation from one to next, yes. So slightly the query differs from one language to another language. For example, select star from table name is common for all the languages, but other might get differs. It's depend upon vendors. So as per NIT, it's again up to you. If you want to explore, you can explore any number of softwares whenever if you have time. As per NIT, we will be using MySQL software, and MySQL is a free of cost, and it even though it is freeware, its vendor is Oracle. So we will be using MySQL RDBMS. By using SQL query, we will be working with this MySQL software. MySQL is a software and it comes under backend database server. Even though we are in front-end operating system, yes, it supports in your operating system, but it considered as a backend application. So as I said in the morning, backend installation is quite tricky. So morning I send you a link. So please refer Mentor Notes channel. I have shared a link. It's a freeware. So go to this link. Please download the second software.
This link is for 32-bit. We have to download another link for 64.
Yeah. Please take it for 64. And it should be MySQL installer community with this 439 MB software. Download it. Please share it for 64-bit. Is there any option?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I have searched and downloaded, but at some point it's got stuck. It is not proceeding the installation.
Give me 2 minutes time, I'll share. And as I said, installation of MySQL, since it is a backend software, it's tricky. So I shared one another link, which is having step-by-step. This is how you have to go. Choose full, don't miss any single step. And there is a password. Don't forget the password. Only with the help of password, you can able to connect with the software.
This is only for